Hello, Degrassi alumni. Here we go again. It's another DeGrads podcast. I am your host, Shane Kipple, Gavin Spinner Mason.
I'm Mike Lobel, or as you might know me better, Jay Hogarth. Now, Shane and I started this podcast because although we were on Degrassi, doesn't mean we saw it.
No.
We missed most of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was by choice back then. It was kind of weird to watch yourself, but now a little bit removed. It's a ton of fun. And now that we're all growing up and we can see it through fresh eyes, it's a real trip. And we're very happy that you get to do this with us. And today we have a man who has been here before and needs no introduction because we're so sick of introducing him, really. Welcome back for When Doves Cry, Part 2, Pat Mastroianni.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Good, Pat. How are you?
Very good, my friends. And what an introduction. Thank you, Shane. I'm so happy you're not sick of me yet, but hopefully by the end of our conversation today, you will be, and you won't have me back anymore.
No, man. Yeah, listen, we were watching, we saw Doves Cry Part 1, and your performance, it was incredible, and we knew we had to have you on for the follow-up.
Yeah, I can't believe you guys are already on season 2. Congrats, guys. That's amazing.
Thank you.
And, as a fan of your show and listening to your podcasts, I get it. And I think it's amazing. And I really do hope that eventually you'll get through the rest of your series, and then maybe you'll do a watch of mine, of the junior high, because it's interesting to see a lot of the parallels in the storylines that we'll talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that today because we've had a few fans in the Discord asking about that question specifically.
Yeah, but we actually were planning on recording back to back when we did When Doves Cry Part 1. Minutes before starting the recording session, I call up Mike and we need Pat for this. He was so pivotal. We were going to do it alone. I'm like, no, he absolutely needs to be there. If there was ever a time that it was appropriate to have you in, and you were so gracious and didn't make me feel too bad for waiting until the 11th hour to invite you in. Thanks.
Yeah. No, I've been excited to be brought back for an episode rewatch. I actually wanted to have that experience of rewatching the episode, which I haven't seen in 25 years, and kind of look at it through fresh eyes like you guys have been.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just want to say, first of all, to all of our listeners, content warning, this episode does deal with themes of violence, abuse, and we just want to give you guys a heads up there.
Last time we got into what the episode title was, the song that it was named after by Prince, which I know now. Thanks a lot, Mike.
You're very welcome.
And we also, nothing changed with any of the time capsule, what happened on this day, August 6th, 2002. It was also written by Yan Moore and Aaron Martin. It was also directed by the great Bruce McDonald. And aside from that, not much else has changed. So without further ado, Mike, let's get into it.
Heck yes. All right. So Craig is standing shirtless in front of his bedroom mirror and he's inspecting his bruises. He touches his side. Ooh, too painful. He winces. Outside of Degrassi, Craig's dad, Albert, drops him off, handing him a stack of cash for a new camera, a consolation gift. No hard feelings, he says. Get one of those digital ones. I'm offended. As a photographer, I'm offended.
One of those new.
Yeah, we thought digital was better at that time. Yeah. They weren't. Film was way better.
But it was all the rage. It was what was new. You didn't need film anymore. It was an SD card. You could, they were reusable, just like CD RWs, rewritables.
CD RWs. Yeah. So, and I mean, obviously this is a hard scene because it feels like a bribe, or it's not a bribe, but it's it is a consolation. It's an apology. But it's a gift. It's not a real apology kind of thing for his behavior.
It's that terrible two sides of that coin of Craig's father, Albert, the loving, caring father that wants to be a nurturer, and then the dark side, which obviously we see throughout this episode, of you cross me and you mess with the bull, you get the horns, right? And he's just so aggressive towards his character. Now, can I mention, is it too early to mention? The fact that, again, in my Degrassi Junior High version of the series, we had a similar character
That's right. Rick, right?
Rick, yeah,
Yeah.
and his father was abusive as well to him, and that was something that Joey witnessed firsthand.
Mhm.
You see why Joey is so concerned for Craig, why Joey is, because he witnessed it firsthand as a child, what an abusive father can be like. And I think that's what's endearing about the character, the Joey character, being a nurturer and wanting to take Craig, protect him from this very abusive man. But Hugh, can I just say very quickly that Hugh Dillon, who plays Albert, Craig's dad, amazing actor. The fact that I watched him for the first time in a Bruce McDonald movie called Hardcore Logo,
Right, yeah.
but it was just such an honor and a privilege to work against him as an actor, because he just made that Albert character look so scary. But then he can turn around and play that emotional scene in the car with Craig to get his love back from him. But you can see the wheels turning in Craig's head, that this is just not real. This is just a wad of cash. It's hush money, basically.
Well, we were marveling at that in part 1, that it the hot and cold wasn't even performative. It was because it happened at home too. He was in a good mood, and then he would snap, and then he would be back to normal, leaving Craig in the wake of this disaster. But it almost seems like Albert doesn't even know exactly what he's doing. And I'm jumping ahead again, but at the end of the episode, where inevitably, you know, Craig will leave, and he says, "I could stay here and you could continue to beat me." And his response with the, "I don't beat you." I actually think that he didn't even realize, like, maybe the guy just sees red and he snaps, and then it's like a momentary, temporary insanity for a moment. And then he's back to it. And however I acted when I was like that, you can't hold me responsible. I don't know what
it's normalized too, right? If that's how you behave, maybe it's something you grew up with. You don't really, we all live in our bubble. We don't know any different than what we experience. So it's hard to see yourself from the outside to even notice this is extreme behavior.
So a little backstory that I offered to give myself, because I asked Yan Moore, who was my head writer for the original series, I said, do you think Albert was abusive to his ex-wife, who would later become my wife?
Yes, good question.
And the reasoning for her leaving Albert, and why Albert has this sort of, not jealousy, but animosity towards Joey Jeremiah, and that hatred, and why Craig is like, I'm not like mom. I'm not like her. You know, I'm loyal to you, Dad. But I always imagined my character and his wife having that conversation about, I was in an abusive relationship. He hit me all the time, and I was able to escape and get out. But, you know, obviously his son, or her son, my future stepson, couldn't. You know, that he was always going to be in his life as a father. So it just tore me up inside to imagine that for the Craig character, and that I gave myself a little bit of history with Albert and why I don't have this relationship with him, because I know who he is.
And it is a question that sort of pervades the entire episode while you're watching. Like, what is the setup here? Because it's quite a complicated family dynamic. Okay, so he's not his son by blood, but by marriage. So the episode is like this mystery, and we're putting it together. It's revealed to us. One of the things also I noticed, Craig's photography is sort of a metaphor throughout the episode for his emotional state. So in the beginning, he's developing photos as we're learning who these characters are, like who is Angela to Craig, and who is the photos. He's developing them. They're slowly coming into focus just as we're slowly understanding how all of these characters connect. And then that's why in the last scene, when the camera hits the floor and he's beating on Craig, and we see the broken lens smashed, that is like a very strong metaphor to bring it all home. Like, this is Craig's entire way he processes the world is completely destroyed at this point. He doesn't know what to do.
There's so much beautiful camera movement from the cinematographer in this episode. I don't know if you guys noticed the long dollies in the hallways,
Mhm.
a lot of handheld camera work in this episode. When you see Craig kind of being not sneaky but eavesdropping on Angie, you see the camera moving in a way that kind of resembles his perspective or his point of view. So I thought the camera work was really, really beautiful in this episode. They really stepped it up, and that again is a tribute to Bruce McDonald and his skill as a director to get that movement happening and to not use cutaways, but to actually have the camera move down to a piece of paper and then go
I
back
noticed
up to the camera.
there's a lot of boom ups and downs in this episode to reveal things. So good on you. And also got to shout out Gavin Smith,
Of course.
DP.
Yeah.
Craig has created a fantasy world for himself. It's almost like there's a few competing subpersonalities there, and one of them is trying to protect Craig from having to full out embrace the reality of what his life has become. And I think when he's playing with Angela, the innocence of youth there, and then his wanting to fantasize with her about running away and about the dinosaur and everything, I feel like he has a subpersonality of himself that is a case of Arrested Development, where he has to remain a kid, and allow that wool to be pulled over his eyes, because his reality would be too much for him to take, and it's very sad. It's very emotional. Yeah,
I want to continue that conversation, but I want to wait till we get to the train scene later on.
The train scene. For sure.
We're getting up to some really interesting character dynamics of Jake Epstein's performance of Craig, and again the subtlety of his performance. So we'll get to that for sure.
All right. Well, in the CAF, JT and Toby are scheming, as usual, when Paige interrupts to apologize for rejecting and embarrassing him the other day. Movie and a bite, your treat. Toby is left questioning reality itself. Are his dating app algorithms off? He could never have predicted this. Paige and JT are going on a date. What could go wrong?
I love the dynamics of these two. It reminds me of Arthur and Yick from DJH. I love the young male perspective of the opposite sex and how they approach their curiosities of relationships with the opposite sex. And then you have the yin yang of Emma Manny and how they have this cute puppy love attraction to Craig. It's very cute, the two perspectives in this episode. But I just think it's hilarious how Lauren's performance of Paige in this episode is just like, God, you're so annoying, but I need the $30.
I need the money. Also, cheapest haircut. From everything I know about women and their haircuts, these are like hundreds of dollars, and this is $30. I think that Paige would end up with more of a mullet at the end of a $30 haircut than she had beforehand. But that's just me. That's just me. Who am I?
You may not know this, but my character did a similar situation with Caitlin in an early episode of Degrassi, where I'm dared by BLT to take Caitlin out for $20. And it's the same story. I get caught in the restaurant. We're having a great time. Caitlin and Joy are having a great time. It's their first real date. But BLT shows up and outs him, just like your character Spinner did. And basically, Caitlin pours Coke on my head, and I'm running out the restaurant trying to apologize. This is Yan Moore writing, and also giving tribute to the early versions of Degrassi in this episode. So again, it's amazing the way they kind of blend the two series together and tell a new story from a more modern perspective. Like, with inflation, it's not $20, it's $30. But you're absolutely right. It should have been $100. But at that age, would somebody your age have $100 to bet somebody? Probably not.
No. In the foyer, Craig stares at a photo of Angela when Emma literally bumps into a kid, sending her books flying everywhere. She admits she overheard Craig and Joey's conversation and offers to let Craig tag along on her next Angela babysitting gig after school. Uh-oh. We go to a nice transition of the city of Toronto.
Yes.
Hey, watch out for that streetcar. Location. There's a streetcar there. Craig thanks Emma as Angela barrels into his arms. Angela wants the park. Emma has homework, however, and so Craig offers to take her instead. Well, against Emma's better judgment, she agrees.
I love how Emma realizes that there's something. She had to be convinced. She knows that there's something else at play here. She doesn't want to split the two up, and she wants to be a good person, but she also is trying to be the adult here. And I could see that conflict in her. It was played very, very well.
She wants to trust Craig. She sees they're in a relationship. She feels like they are owed that relationship. And if Craig wants it and Angela wants it, they should be allowed to have it. And she's trying to, do something good.
And she also she likes Craig as a person, obviously, and she wants him to think she's cool, like cool enough to say, yes, I trust you with spending some time, but just make sure you get her back home as quickly as possible. Like, have that time. Very innocent, very lovely.
It is a little weird to like halfway through babysitting to kind of like pawn the kid off to somebody. Even,
That's true.
I know I was entrusted with this job and I'm probably going to be what happens when Joey shows up and the kid's not there? Or, like
Craig is older and Emma has a crush on Craig. So he really like turned the screws to her. He knew what he was doing. As innocent as he played it, once again, Craig has a way to, with people to roundabout get his way and be a chameleon to for
he is hiding a lot of the
needed.
Darkness. Yeah. A lot of the darker stuff.
But you can see the joy that Angie brings him in their relationship because it's pure, it's innocent, it's love, and it's all he ever wanted was to have that love. And again, from a blood relative like Angie, it means the world to him. And this is why he keeps going back for more. Like, every time he's being told to stay away, don't engage, don't reach out, he defies it because he's just so desperate and so lonely. And so, he's like a can of pop that's going to blow up because it's been shaken and he's just building all this emotion. Again, watching this episode, my heart just went out to that character. And again, Jake did a great job playing it. And that slow build throughout the 2 episodes.
Totally.
And Angela is also the only thing left from his old life when he was happy. His mom's not there. Mike and I were pondering the idea. It seemed when Albert beat Craig in part 1 that by Craig's reaction that it had never gotten that bad before. He's been scared of his dad before, but things never quite, maybe his dad threw things, broke things, but never actually put a hand on him like that. So if Craig has been starved for love and normalcy for 5 years now, and he knows that he has like one ray of sunshine left in the world, and that is not even being allowed for him. I don't know. Like you said, heartbreaking.
Truly.
Yeah, heartbreaking.
At the park, Craig and Angela run through sprinklers and tickle fight until Craig winces his bruises. Right. And Angela notices them. She's pretty savvy. Craig lies. A dinosaur bit him. Let's go someplace dinosaurs can never get to us. She agrees, and they take off.
I don't quite understand what he thought was going to happen here. Once again, the fantasy world that he's creating for himself. I also found it very curious that he's choosing the path of, telling Angela, no, this is a monster. It's nothing real. But when she asks, does it hurt? He's like, yeah, he can't even deny that it really hurts. Yeah. So he's trying to shelter in some ways, but then the reality creeps back in. It was interesting.
No, you're absolutely bang on. And what I was waiting to talk about with you guys is, do you think Craig's bipolar condition starts to slip through in this scene a little bit where he's just talking, these ideas that he's getting are just not based in any true reality. It's not even accepting, because he, again, in my later episodes with him and his character, he does take off. He does go missing. He does run away with the guitar and all that stuff that happens in that episode later on. But again, is this the beginning of his condition slowly sneaking out in this scene.
It must be, because he's sort of in that sort of more manic state.
And then obviously with the train scene later on, we see it kind of coming out in a much stronger way, because that's just not normal behavior, right?
No. It might even be normal to, like, you know, play chicken with the train as a dumb, you know, teenager. But the way he handles it, especially with Sean, is so disconnected from just what's actually happening.
Yeah.
All right. Meanwhile, Joey shows up. That's you, Pat. At Spike's to find Emma without Angela. Where is she? She's forced to admit that Angela is with Craig. Joey, he's her brother. But Joey panics and barks back. Leave the parenting decisions to me. How hard was it to, like, walk that line of being firm with somebody? This is something that I want to know, just like, you know, as a future parent, what's that line of, like, how do you be firm, especially with somebody else's kid?
Yeah, you're right. I think if there's ever an opportunity to use a director as your guide, you know, he'll usually give us a few chances to do a couple of takes, and he might say to me, you know, hey Pat, that was really good. Now, can you give me a little bit more anger? Can you give me? And so you get multiple kicks at the can, and then you just hope in the editing, the director and the producers will find that tone that is appropriate. And again, I think that's what Bruce did on set, was let me try a few different options, and then they went with what felt right. Because yeah, you're right. You don't want to yell at a 14, 15-year-old girl, but at the same time, she did something stupid. No, I think the energy was appropriate for the moment in that scene.
I agree.
I thought it was very well played. I mean, you trusted Emma to take care of your little girl, and she pawned him off on Craig, which you had mixed feelings about in general. But then when she's trying to excuse it and tell you, like, no, listen, this is okay, man. You're like, hey, hold on. Hold on. Yeah,
exactly.
You don't get to tell me how to parent my kid. And I think it's something that I learned in acting lessons a long time ago, that it's a real interesting thing that you can complain about your family member, you can complain about your significant other until the cows come home. But as soon as somebody else dares insult them, you then jump to their defense. So it's a weird thing here that, like, as soon as Emma crosses that line, it's like, no.
In my version of the classic series, there were never adults injecting themselves into the storylines. They were just there as wallpaper. Like my character's mom was there. Hey Joey, how was school? Great. That was it. Like the adults never had a story arc. So to allow us to be part of the story, to allow us to inject ourselves and be part of that development of the story arc, was a really unique thing for Degrassi, because adults really weren't important back in my day. So it was nice to have that interaction, that dynamic, because it just showed another layer of what the show was becoming ultimately.
Good.
So yeah, it was fun.
At the mall, Paige surprises JT at the movie theater in full disguise, hoodie, sunglasses, the whole works. She will not be seen with him. JT, however, sweetly gifts her a stuffed teddy bear before they go into the flick.
Hilarious. Again, Lauren Collins and her character are fantastic. JT, again, he's a little shit disturber, but I love him because he so reminds me of my character back in the day.
Yeah,
the guy's got game. Like he brought the teddy bear. He knew what to do, and he's gonna break her down.
It's true. I agree with you, Pat. I think he's got a sneaky, subtle. He's got something going for him.
I wouldn't quite call it game. He's got charm, but whatever he's playing at, Paige is playing a completely different game. So it's not quite there. But what I think is his charm and his honesty, after a certain point, you just kind of have to be flattered by it, which I think is what worked there eventually. But to say like, oh, no, he knows exactly what he's doing and it's going to work. No, I think he doesn't know what else to do.
I think JT went on a website and it went, no, how to go on a date with a girl, how to impress a girl on a date. Like, he did his research, he did his homework. So I think he's doing the things that he thinks that he's supposed to do on a date. But again, you have to have that confidence. Yes, he's younger than her. Yes, he might be a little bit more immature than Paige, but I think he's got the foundation to be a really cool guy and a player down the road, and we see it later on in this episode where he gets his reward. No, I really like the character. He's very 3-dimensional, which I like.
You're defending him because in defending him, you're also defending Joey.
Yeah.
Well, I know the game you're playing, Pat. I see right through it. Anyway.
All right. Well, speaking of Joey reaches the playground finally. Craig and Angela are gone because they're at an ice cream truck. Angela, at the ice cream truck now, who is licking a chocolate ice cream cone, notices Craig's wads of cash. Craig casually suggests that they run away to British Columbia. Angela thinks that sounds fun, and so they head towards the bus station until Papa Joey pulls.
Alex Steele, who is Cassie's real-life sister, playing Angie, who is named after my real-life mom, by the way. Angela is my mother's name, and the producers were kind enough to give my daughter on the show my mom's name.
That's sweet.
But how old could she have been in this episode? 4, 5 years old, tops?
Yeah.
Really, really doing a good job carrying her scenes with my character.
She was so great.
Very adorable.
Adorable.
And again, she worked really, really hard. I remember her and her father on set studying the lines and asking if we could practice these scenes before we were on set. And of course, I want to help. She's a young actress, but she really did a great job. And that innocence, you see that in the character, and she just wants to be with her brother. She doesn't understand outside of her little world how intense the real world is, and for Craig and Joey, they're all dealing with their own traumas right now and trying to have control. At the end of the scene where I scream at Craig, broke my heart again. What's Joey to do? It's his daughter. You're gonna run away with my daughter? Are you crazy? I don't know the character well enough to trust what his intentions are. So it was just, again, we're seeing that possible bipolar coming out in Craig's desperation, but he's also feeling like a victim. You see him helpless in this scene yet again.
And as an audience, we know what Joey is sending Craig back to and why Joey should be a little bit more understanding. But Joey, the character in that moment, like you said, is just trying to watch out for his daughter. You don't know Craig well enough yet, and you're under very strict orders from Craig's dad to not let the two together, and now they're sneaking around together and talking about running off. And Angie thinks that it's a game, but Craig, you are very suspicious, is absolutely serious about it, and he seems a little crazy enough to do it, to execute. So yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Joey is confused about why Craig is there. Angela kind of rats Craig out, his plans to take off with her to BC. Joey lays down the law, yelling at Craig to stay away from Angela, like your dad said. And then back at home, Albert notices that Craig is upset. And Craig lies, saying that the camera cost more than expected when the phone rings.
I forgot that my character called Albert. I'm watching this going, oh no, Joey, what are you doing? My God. Talk about that. Stoking the fire.
But once again, Joey didn't know. Like, Joey that's a parent to parent. Like, you thought you were doing a good thing by Albert at that point, and Craig was in the wrong, which technically he was, but he was desperate anyway. Yeah.
And him running up the stairs, I was like, oh dude, you gotta run. Like, as an audience member, I can imagine from the audience perspective, the building of drama and fear for Craig. And so it must have been an amazing episode to watch for them the first time around when it first aired.
We were saying last time, the way that some of these structurally these scenes play out feels more akin to a suspense or even a horror film. So even stylistically, we're in totally new territory for Degrassi here.
Absolutely. And like I said, a lot of the handheld stuff, a lot of the camera movement, it's building up this drama. It's building up this anxiety and this fear that the audience is experiencing for the character Craig. And there's nowhere to escape. Like, how is he going to get out of this house to avoid the beating that's coming? You see the anger. And then obviously the golf club through the door.
Yeah, the shining moment.
Yeah,
talk about the horror
Johnny.
movie. Yeah.
Craig bolts upstairs. He barricades the door, calls Sean while stuffing his backpack, and he's making his escape plan. Albert is charging up the stairs and starts smashing the door, literally smashing it with a golf club.
But the creepiness of him just tapping the door first with the club, open it. Hey, Craig, open the door. And then right to, when I say open the door, you open the door. And then straight to the axe. Here's Johnny moment. Yeah.
Terrifying. Yeah. And the horrible thing about all this is that, we're able to laugh about it now and talk about the nuances and the subtlety of the camera work and all this. But there were people watching this episode who had some type of experience with this life. We often get fans coming up to us at conventions or on the street or whatever and say, your show talked to me. Your show made me feel less alone. I feel for the people that were watching this show and resonating with the character Craig and having some kind of experience with parental abuse or emotional abuse and physical abuse. So again, we're talking about stories that happen in the real world. This is what Degrassi is. We're representing a generation, and we're telling these stories that are realistic and that people can relate to, unfortunately. So
I do have one comment that I found it curious that Albert, to me, would seem like the kind of guy that would not allow a locked door in his house. Yet Craig closes the door, and there's a handle lock, there's a chain lock, and there's a deadbolt that he obviously installed all these things on his own.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering.
That's a good catch. I didn't notice that, Shane.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I watched it twice, right? So he closes the door and twist, chain, deadbolt.
It's like, oh yeah, my dad's a werewolf.
Yeah, that's right.
We got to keep these locks on for the full moon.
So again, do we imagine that this could have happened before? Maybe not as intense, but he could have had some beatings before that would make him want to have that privacy or that security of his bedroom door having those locks. I mean, it's curious. It's amazing that they thought of that to do that in the scene.
It's a good point. Yeah, truly. Meanwhile, at the food court, JT is bombing hard with his cheerleader jokes. Root beer is the punchline of one of them. Paige ups the ante with a savage joke about her rivals, and it kills. JT laughs so hard that soda shoots out of his nostrils.
Yes.
Enter Hazel and Spinner. A $20 bill changes hands. I guess it was $30, right?
$30,
but not a $30 bill. No.
It was all a bet? Oh, man.
Do you find it curious? I was a little stung that Paige sees Spinner and Hazel standing there and then just addresses Hazel. And now I'm thinking,
I did notice that.
Is it because Hazel took her sunglasses off, but Spinner kept them on and Paige didn't know it was Spinner because of those sunglasses still
because
being
when
on?
Sunglasses go on, you're in disguise, baby.
That's the Clark Kent.
She did it 2 scenes ago, and now you're doing it. She can't tell it's a Spinner. Craig and Sean sit on railroad tracks. They're having a heart-to-heart. Craig tells Sean about his plan to skip town. He's got the money now. Sean isn't so sure that this is a good idea and asks the brave question, does your dad hit you? The thing that struck me is this says a lot about Sean's character also.
Yeah.
He sees the signs.
He talks some sense into Craig. He sees that Craig seems to be a little unhinged and having this fantasy about running away with a few $100s and even Sean right away. He doesn't even joke about it. He's like, you're going to end up on the street, man. Trust me, I know. And this is not fun. This is going to be really bad for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that is a projection of Sean's worry that he's struggling with deteriorating mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I definitely agree. And again, this is the climax of the episode for Craig, obviously. And he's going through this emotional turmoil. There's really no going back to his home at this point. Where else is he going to go? And his life has just completely fallen apart. He doesn't know what to do. And I'm watching the scene right now, and the train is coming, and I can see his performance is beautiful. He's just at his wit's end. And as an audience member watching this, going, what the hell's going to happen to him? He could have very easily have lost his life in that scene if it wasn't for the Sean character being there at the last minute to push him out of the way.
Yeah, just when we get a new character, he's gonna get run over by a train.
But I must say, and just to bring a little levity to a very intense episode, and not to take away from Bruce being an incredible director, but man, Craig pushing Sean and then the cut to Sean falling. He was falling like almost forward, and then he ends up on his back. And then when he's standing there on the tracks calling for Craig to get off, there was to date the worst ADR of any episode. Did you not catch this? I'm surprised, Mike.
I was petrified because of the train.
There was a scream. There was a get off the tracks. And then with no break, come on, Craig, like back to a normal voice. I had to rewind it and watch it 3 times because I thought it was crazy. There was a scream that actually peaked the recording.
I think I just got distracted by the flying skateboard.
Yeah.
Air that forever was flying.
Which, as an editor, I thought you actually that's very smart to have shot that, because you need that to sustain the moment. The what's going to happen, the tension. It's like a time slowing down device. And you couldn't, I try to think of how to cut this without that, and it would not have had the same impact. Even though it felt a little cheesy, it still totally worked.
But when you have a chance, an audience, if you're going to watch the episode after listening to the podcast, or even if you didn't catch that moment, go back, because when Sean gets up, after Craig pushes him down, he gets back up and attempts from just off the tracks to get Craig to move. There is a scream that didn't even sound human, didn't sound like Danny.
All right, the train horn is blaring. Craig stands up, unmoving, facing it. Sean is begging him, pulls him, get off the tracks, man. Craig shoves him away. Then the train barrels closer, headlights filling the frame, and Sean lunges, tackling Craig off the tracks at the very last second. The skateboard flies. They land hard but alive. Craig laughs kind of maniacally and then runs away.
Runs away like Anna Faris in the scary movies.
Yeah.
The arms swinging.
This is where I'm going, okay. Craig is in he's having an episode. He's in some
breakdown,
sort of manic.
Yeah, because you can obviously. What are you laughing about, Craig? This is what I'm watching the screen and I'm yelling at the character, going, "Why are you laughing? What's wrong with you? I know what's wrong." But his instinct is to start laughing at the moment. I don't know if am I supposed to be crazy, or what's that choice as an actor to do that? But again, I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how I would react in that moment or how I would behave in that moment. But strong performance by Jake. Again, a young guy, young actor. How old was he at that time? 16, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And again, all of you guys were really strong back then. But what I saw in Jake in the audition for the character was just leaps and bounds ahead of other young actors that we had auditioned for the Craig role. But again, a lot of these actors that are in this episode come from previous television work. You know, JT and Sean and Jake, they all had episodic television under their belt. And you can see that in their performances, that this isn't their first rodeo. They know what they're doing. They're prepared, and emotionally, they're there in the moment as an actor. So kudos to all of them.
I read the idea to stand in front of the train and then the laughter afterwards as first of all, nothing to lose, everything is done, but he numbed himself out emotionally just to be able to survive living with his dad for so long that now it seems like he is just looking for anything to feel alive again, become a little bit of an adrenaline junkie along the way. He's just throwing stuff at the wall right now to see what can get him to, get through the next day. I don't know.
I hear you. No, that's absolutely a good interpretation of it. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to know what fans who have experience with like bipolar, for example, might see themselves. We hear from fans all the time saying the Craig character really helped me to unlock what was going on with my mind. And so I'm just curious to hear from you guys. So please write us, let us know if you're seeing the same thing. And please share your experiences if you want. Sean and Emma arrive to tell Joey what happened. Craig is a danger to himself. He might end up on the street. His father beats him. But Joey wants to keep it private until Angela mentions the bruises she saw on his side.
Mm-hmm.
Joey gets into the car and drives the city searching for Craig.
I wish there was a scene where now we're seeing Emma and Sean side by side, right? The last time that we saw them, I mean, obviously Sean on the first day of school came and he sat down next to Emma, but she was unresponsive. We haven't seen them together. We haven't seen them talk since Ashley's party with the ecstasy, where they had the big falling out.
The awkward first date.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so now I wish there was a scene where Sean had to run to Emma and kind of fast track the, listen, like, I know we have our thing right now, but there's something much more important. But suddenly Sean is just side by side with Emma.
I like that, Shane. That's a good idea. That would have helped, I think.
Yeah, you know what, guys? We're a 23-minute show, and they pack a lot of episode in 23 minutes, and I've been shocked and impressed with that for 40 years.
Yeah.
How many sub stories that they can put in and tell an amazing story in such a short period of time, and again, they somehow figure it out every single time with every episode.
Every scene, though, almost in the show, especially the first act of the show, there are 4 multiple threads being sewn in. When we go through these episodes and I write, for the podcast, I have to go back and watch the same scene like 3-4 times just to see all of the different things that they're setting up that pay off later in the episode. So it's like the economy of space and time is amazing.
Yeah.
That's why, like, with Netflix shows and any of the streaming shows, I hope these people understand how lucky they have it that their episodes could be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. They could go an hour and 10 minutes with this one and 47 minutes with this one, they could do a 10 episode season, a 12 episode season, a 7 episode season. But back then it was whatever the order was for and everything, 22 minutes
on the dot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And 5 frames. Emma is digging through Craig's personal belongings and she finds a family photo that says, "We miss you, mommy."
Yeah.
She has an idea. She thinks she knows where Craig might be.
If any fans listening are going to rewatch this episode, the last photo that she turns in that photo album is an actual wedding photo from my real life. And my dad is in the photo with me.
No way.
Yeah, that's my real life dad in the photo. And that's my real life wedding photo in that album. So that's kind of cool. I didn't expect it.
Is that the torn one?
Yes, it's the torn one, kind of black and whitish. And I'm staring at it right now going, hey, that's my dad. So
they got rid of Carm.
That's so sweet. Well, this is kind of an interesting little film TV factoid. When they need backstory for actors, like materials, right? Photographs or old videos of an actor, and they want not to cast the young version, they want it to be really authentic, they will oftentimes ask the actor to go into their archives and pull out something that they can use. Nowadays, we have technology which is like Photoshop someone's face on an old photo, but I can always kind of tell. So this would have been that's a good example of that.
And believe it or not, it would be very subtle. It'd be very hard to find, but I know the fans out there are pretty good at this kind of stuff. On Joey's fireplace mantle in his home, there's a wedding photo of him and his deceased wife. That's actually my wedding photo with my real life wife. So they actually used our wedding photo. Well, I just gotten married that year, so I had all these things. And when they said, "Hey, can we use a picture of you and your wife?" I'm like, "Go for it!" And I joked with my wife when I got home. I'm like, "Hey, you're my dead wife on Degrassi."
That's amazing.
He was like, yeah. Also, sorry, one last question. How is Emma just going through Craig's personal things?
I wondered about this. Did he leave them when he ran off, and then Sean brought them?
Oh, like in his knapsack?
Yeah.
Because when Craig left, he didn't have anything with him, but Craig packed that bag. Okay, yeah.
It was hard to tie that together, but yeah, it was very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Joey finds Craig at his mother's grave. Craig is pretty unhinged. He's yelling. He's spiraling. So Joey confronts him about the abuse. Craig, he doesn't deny it. In fact, he breaks down. He starts crying. I started crying. Joey hugs him. Everybody's crying.
Yeah.
It was pretty emotional.
Yeah.
It was an amazing scene to film for me because I was just along for the ride. It was all Jake Epstein. Just like in the audition, this is one of the scenes that we did in the audition. And I was just trying to keep up with him as an actor, trying to give him everything I could as a performer to play off of, because I knew he had this very intense emotional scene to do. We didn't joke between takes. He would go his way, I would go my way. And then he did that one move in the scene that I busted his balls about for years afterwards, where he has his back towards Joey, and I say, "Your father hits you, doesn't he?" And then he turns around and he has this one tear rolling down his cheek. Yeah. I'm like, "You son of a bitch." And that's what I said in my head in that scene because I was off camera. I'm like, "You got it, you bastard." Because those are moments as an actor, you're trying to get to that moment as an actor. You're trying to get to that peak of emotion, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and you sometimes you get multiple tries. But he nailed it on the first take, and in my head, I'm like, damn it, he's so much better than me.
He's a legend. No, seriously, Pat, watching this two-parter, I just thought the same thing. It was like, I didn't realize what school I was at. I didn't realize the caliber. I was like, I should have tried a little. I mean, I did try. I tried. I brought my whole self, but I just didn't realize. I was like, damn, I could have.
And I can only imagine the producers and the director and the cameramen watching on their little monitors behind the tent or whatever when we're filming these scenes, and they're probably grabbing each other, going, "Oh my God, this is an amazing moment." When you've captured something incredible. And you don't have to fake it with fake tears or whatever.
Right.
Like, so, and kudos to Jake. I'll always compliment him on his skills and his ability. But he, in that moment, again, you guys have to realize this is his first time on this episode on this series, right? This is he's coming into something that's already established.
Yeah.
And you could watch this and say, "Oh, he's been on the show for 5 years. Like he's that comfortable in his skin, in his character." A huge ask for any actor who's just coming onto a TV series to hit it like that. He hit a home run. He did great.
Much like in Jagged Little Pill, where Danny, Sean, when he called on the tears, they just fell out of his face. It was sideways, and then he turns and just it's like gravity was working extra hard on those tears. They were just pulled from his tear ducts.
Out.
And with Jake, he had his back to you, and he had that moment where he had to confess, he does. His eyes were like you could tell that he was very emotional in that moment, but there were no tears welling yet. And then when he turned, it was already halfway down his face. I'm like, if only that tear was delayed, a fraction of a second, that would have been perfect, but it was already there.
I'm sure you've explained this to your audience, and many of them probably know the technical aspect behind filming a scene. It takes about 3 hours to shoot an entire scene with all the different angles, all the different setups. So that one shot of him facing with his back towards my character probably took place a half hour to 45 minutes before the other shot of him turning and facing Joey Jeremiah. Those two moments didn't happen sequentially. There was probably time in between, and that's the tough thing about an actor, is making that performance consistent throughout those 3 hours that you're playing that same scene over and over and over again, so that you're always at the same beat emotionally that you were at an hour or 2 hours ago in that scene. And that can be difficult to do at times because you forget. You have to remember, you start a scene like this emotionally, you end up here, and then the director says, cut, okay, let's go again. And you have to go back to where you started. Sometimes as an actor, we start somewhere in the middle. We can't get back to that beginning emotionally. And then the performance just gets larger and larger with every take, to the point where, and this was my claim to fame on set, the director would always be like, Kit Hood back in the day, he's like, Pat, can you bring it down?
Yeah.
Can you bring it down? You were here an hour ago and now you're way up here. And
that's a good problem to have, though, because it's easier to bring it down than it is to, when you're just low energy and you're low emotionally, to bring it up.
But that's what a good director does, right? That's what people say, well, what do you need a director for? Not only is it for the technical, but it's also for the performance, to help the actors, remind them where they are and where they need to be, because they're seeing it through the monitors, how it's being portrayed. And if the good director can talk to you and bring you down, then that's their job. And Bruce McDonald was always good about doing that for his actors. So he's an actor. He's an actor's director for sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, the next day at school, Paige approaches a defeated JT. She's feeling residual guilt. JT is skeptical. She tells him he was a good date for someone else, which is such a crazy line. JT negotiates. The date isn't complete without a kiss, Paige. Fine. She pecks his cheek. He melts. They're even.
Love it. Love it. Again, he's a player. He's got game. He knows what he's doing. He's taking advantage of his power now.
He learns something here, I think, in this episode. This is what he learns.
Guilt is a powerful motivator? Is that what it is?
Yes, absolutely.
He's like...
Any guy could have been kicked in the nuts and said, whatever, I don't want to talk to you. But he took that moment of Paige's vulnerability and guilt to say, hey, you know what would make me feel better? Just a little something. And again, if he would have just turned his cheek and gotten a little bit on the lips, and then Paige would have been like, damn, he's a good kisser, that would have been the best.
I think he figures, okay, or we're seeing for the first time, if he can't get things done the traditional way, being like tall, dark, athletic, handsome, he's going to use his humor, he's going to use his wit, and he's going to like figure out how to like be charming.
Yeah. And he still has the teddy bear at the end of that scene, and he hands it to her. Like, mic drop for him. Come on.
Drop. Outside of Craig's house, Craig and Joey prepare for the confrontation. Craig knocks on the front door. When Albert opens it to see that Craig has returned, he starts pleading with him. Don't leave me like your mother did. Craig lays out his options. Child services could take me. I could go live with Joey, or I could stay here and I get beaten again.
Yeah.
Albert has nothing left. Craig grabs his stuff and leaves with Joey. And as Craig and Joey speed off, we're on Craig, looking back towards his father, and we freeze.
It was a satisfying ending for me as a viewer watching it again after 20 years. I was very curious to think, what did Joey say to Albert when he had to call him?
Can't imagine what that conversation was like. Yeah.
Did he finally have the balls to say to Albert, this is how it's going to go down. He's going to live with me. Otherwise, I'm going to call the cops. And again, because normally, I think, people would have called the police on Craig's father.
Yeah.
But then what happens to poor Craig? Like, does he get into the system? Joey has found a way to work around the system because he has no claim to Craig. He's not a blood relative.
Yeah.
And so I think Joey and Albert had that conversation on the phone saying, this is what we're going to do to save your freaking son. He's going to live with me. Maybe you guys can work this out down the road. But for now, he needs a safe environment and he's going to be living with me. And that's why Joey didn't feel compelled to get out of the car.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
The negotiation had happened.
I was wondering in a situation like that, why, like, it was dangerous for Craig, even knowing that there was an understanding now, there was an arrangement to walk into the house and have Albert close the door behind him, because in a different universe, a desperate man like Albert, like that could have been, God forbid, like a murder-suicide kind of thing, like, to allow them to be alone behind a closed locked door after everything that happened, where it could get highly emotional with Albert pleading his case to Craig, and then getting desperate. I don't know. That seemed.
You got to imagine the character of Albert, Craig's dad, as the Hulk. When he's Bruce Banner, he's calm, he's collected, he's in control, he's a surgeon, he's, professional, but he rages and he becomes the Hulk. He's a completely different creature. You can't talk to that guy. And I think when Joey was talking to Albert on the phone, again, I'm making this up in my head as a backstory, Albert was remorseful, apologetic, but he can't control it.
Yeah.
He can't control it. He can turn on a dime. And, the best thing that could have happened to that character is what happens down the road. I'm not going to give it away.
No spoilers, because, guys, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I don't
want
to know.
What do you mean you
don't
haven't seen it?
You don't know what happens to Albert?
Okay, well, leave it alone.
Please.
Fans,
That's
don't
why
ruin
I'm
it for
doing
Mike
this.
either.
No, that's a really good point, Pat. And I think that on, this type of violence that adults perpetrate onto children, once it's they get away with it because other adults don't realize what's happening. And as soon as the gig is up and Joey confronted him, like in this phone call we're imagining, it would have probably been incredibly shameful, and so I think he would have had no other choice but to listen to Joey, especially with the threat of potential jail. The one thing I want to say about this invisible, or this unshot, let's call it, scene, Degrassi, I'm noticing, does this a lot before the denouement, the end scene of the show. They often will leave out a big sort of hinging, connecting plot point and create this sort of element of surprise for us at the very end, where we realize there had to have been some big conversation take place, and we're just going to kind of put the pieces together now. So this is common.
And if this was a 1 hour show, you might have got those scenes inserted into the episodes. But because for time, we're a short show, 23, 22 minutes. This is what happens, right? But again, great episode, very powerful, a fantastic way to kick off season 2. I think if you weren't a fan of the show prior and you just kind of tuned into the season opener, this would grab you. This episode, double episode, would pull you in and say, I got to watch this show now. And again, it's Degrassi. That's what we do.
100%. We've got some questions here. We love getting our Discord questions from fans, so please join our Discord. It's DeGrads alumni. And we also love, we've got a Patreon where you guys can get video episodes early and ad-free. So who doesn't love that? DeGrads Patreon for that. But we've got some Discord questions here. So Stevie says, I've always been curious. Did it feel embarrassing or cringy to be the one in the freeze frame, or was it kind of a badge of honor? And has that feeling changed in hindsight?
Badge of honor.
Badge of honor. Freeze frame was the thing you wanted, because we would wait till the episode ended and be like, yeah, I got it. So
you knew it was your episode. Yeah, absolutely.
It was like
I don't know if you guys did
cards.
this as well, but we would the scripts would be flipped over, and we would try to look through the last page to see what character's name was the final.
I remember going into read-throughs, and every actor at the table would immediately go shunk to the back page and then flip it back over, and everyone would start looking at each other like, how are we going
the Shane episode, whatever.
And you're also, you're looking through the dialogue, and you're like, okay. Yeah, I guess I just squeaked through to be invited to the read-through for this one. Yeah.
If a fan out there would be kind enough to put all the freeze frames from TNG into one cool photo, that would be fun to see. All
that
the
would
different.
All 500 of them?
All 500 freeze frames on a shirt, like a mosaic.
There you go.
Yes,
Making up Joey
a
Jeremiah's
bigger.
face.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that question, Stevie. I just wanted to shout out Britt because Britt was one of the people who had a question about the tie-in to Joey and Rick in DJH with this episode. And thanks, Pat, for letting us know that both of these, the A plot and the B plot, are callbacks to original Degrassi Junior High episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so cool to see it. And again, it's not that we're just ripping off previous episodes from the OG. These are just great ways of telling these stories, and it's an homage to the original series, but also, it just shows you that these problems are still happening today, especially with the abuse from a parent. But I love the fact that as an actor, I get to redeem my character by being a nurturer, by being a support figure, by being a good father to Angie and now Craig, especially coming from Schools Out, the way my character was left at the end of the run of the series, to be able to come back as an adult father figure, a good moral compass for the people in his life, and be a good person meant a lot to me. And again, watching this episode, I had those realizations as well, going, oh my God, I did that episode back in junior high where the character Rick was abused by his father. So I come from that experience as a character, and brought that to the role, and why Joey was so intense to be a good father for Craig.
The final question. This is actually more of a comment from Jess, and I know Jess has been messaging us on email and on our Discord, and she's a Patreon member as well. So thank you for that, Jess. She says, "Hi, Shane and Mike. I've been listening to DeGrads and hearing you talk about how revisiting Degrassi has been healing for you. It made me realize the show did something similar for me growing up. I ended up writing 2 short personal essays about that experience, one about Degrassi as my unofficial mental health manual, and another about Spinner's growth and redemption arc. Your podcast honestly helped me connect those dots. I wanted to share them in case they ever resonate. No pressure to reply, just a genuine thank you for all the work you're doing." And then Jess sent her essays, which I've read them and they're fantastic. And she's in mental health. She's studying in therapy modalities, and it was really interesting just to see how she's sort of related her journey with Degrassi, and she sort of uses Degrassi as like a working metaphor, or not a metaphor, but like a working structure for her
template.
Like a template
yeah.
for her therapy. And it's just incredible to see the breakdown. So thank you so much for that, Jess.
Thank you for trusting us with something that personal to you as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're actors, and we are, I guess, ambassadors of the show, and we know what the show meant, but we're also, you're getting to know us more, but it does take... It takes a lot of bravery to be able to trust us, who are still kind of strangers, on a public platform with really sensitive information that, runs deep with you. So thank you for that. And if this is helping you purge more and heal, then we're honored that we could help you with that.
What I think is wonderful about the show is that it helps maybe sometimes put people on a path where they can be a caregiver. They can be somebody in a positive light in people's everyday lives and do the hard work, the real work of helping and supporting others who are in need, where we get to play an episode for, a couple of weeks, and then we go on to another topic. That episode's done. We don't go back to it, really. So it is the fans out there that have made a life choice to be counselors, to be support workers, and do the daily grind and hard work. And they're the ones that should be celebrated. We're just the face of a character on a TV show that have had the privilege to do this for entertainment purposes. But it's people like Jess that do the hard work.
Agreed.
It's funny, I'm going to leave people on a cliffhanger with this, but Mike, in his own research, found out that one of the former cast members actually did take up that mantle and
That's true.
Became a therapist in real life.
In
I'm
real
not going
life.
to tell you who, not yet, until it's appropriate, but it looks like the Degrassi bug got into someone that when they were done with their time on the show, that's what they chose as was their future career.
And
So,
it makes sense to
was
me.
kinda
It
cool.
makes sense.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm.
so excited to reveal that at some point. I mean, there's going to be sleuths out there who figure it out, but
Of course. Yeah.
but yeah, that was very cool to find out. So, so thanks for that, guys. Thanks for all your questions, your comments. Again, you can email us at degradspodcast@gmail.com. Get on our Discord community. It's a very vibrant community that is DeGrads alumni. And of course, again, if you want ad-free video podcast episodes before they come out on your podcasting streaming platforms, you can join us at DeGrads at Patreon.
Thank you for all that Patreon support. Thank you for the weekly support listening to this podcast. There's so much content out there. So thank you for using your free time with us, at least some of it. And thank you once again, Pat, on very short notice for coming in like
Pat.
the Pat daddy you are.
Always a pleasure, guys. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, there was a lot of talking in this one, as we knew there would be. Very heavy episodes, When Doves Cry, part 1 and 2, and much more heaviness to come, I'm sure, in the Degrassi future. But until then, this was another episode of the DeGrads podcast with Shane Kippel and Michael Bell, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Pat.